And welcome back. This is your man Warrior, and this is another in-depth roster review. This is Biggie. He is one of my patrons, and he is a player in the Cantina Lords. So shout out to the Cantina Lords. Now, he is doing very well for himself. He is in the first spot, and of course, if you look at the Sith team, you'll know why. He is going full Sith. You always go full Sith. And for Arena, he's doing really well. He's got a couple of tanks, a couple of attackers, and a support, so he's well balanced. He's got a decent lead ship for the damage. And, overall, his stats look about average. He's been playing for about a year. However, he did take a few months off. And so because of that, he got a little bit behind and he needs some focus. And so we're going to talk about focus areas really quick. Your squad arena is phenomenal. I'm not going to tell you to change anything about it. The only thing about it that is a little bit... your opportunity is that you don't really have any way of cleansing. Darth Sidious is phenomenal, and so is Emperor Palpatine, but you might at some point want to switch in Savage to kind of help you with, he's more durable, he's just a little more durable than those two characters, and he's gonna, help cleanse your team. With the Sith, that was really something they needed, that's why Savage was there, so you might want to consider getting him up as kind of a pet project for the month of March, and then using him in the rotation. Now, I know you're also putting up Sith Assassin, and I would actually say if you were going to do putting in someone, I wouldn't put in Sith Assassin. I'd actually put in Savage for that purpose. As long as your maul's fast enough, you're going to get the extra 20% turn meter at the start of the round, and so you should be able to still open up and go first. But if you want to try out your Sith Assassin, that's fine. The way that you want to mod these guys, you've modded them correctly, but basically if you go Darth Nihilus lead, you don't want any critical chance, critical damage mods, and you want to make them more durable with offense mods for the highest damage possible, and then as much secondary speed and as much secondary protection as possible, because Darth Nihilus will convert that protection to health. If you're going to go Darth Maul like you currently are, then obviously you can go critical damage, critical chance, and you can build it exactly how you did. And I noticed you had a lot of potency on Darth Nihilus, you had a lot of potency on Emperor Palpatine. So Darth Nihilus, you've got health and potency, that's excellent. And so that, that's the way I would go that route. You're wise with your Darth Vader. You went critical chance ×2 on sets and health. The health sets are fine, but the critical chance is important, and this is why, Darth Vader, he likes to throw the Coiling Blade, and he kind of has a lower critical chance rate, and there's nothing like throwing the Coiling Blade for 26k, but there's nothing like throwing it for 52k. So you want to make sure you're doubling that, and getting his critical damage up over 200%. And then, of course, with Darth Maul, he's one of the squishiest characters. He has evasion and stealth, but you're going to want to get as much health and protection on him as possible. Secondary speeds are the most important, which is why you have just kind of put some random mods on here. You have a couple of sets, but really you were looking for speed, I understand. So that's why you built him the way you did. And then Emperor Palpatine, of course, is mostly about potency and health, which is exactly how you modded him, so that's good. And then lastly, you've got Sidious, and you could Zeta his Sidious, that since you have him on your team, and you got his potency up there. You could probably switch some of these potency mods. If you Zeta him, you could switch those out for some more health mods and whatnot. And you have his critical chance up, which is good if he's under the Darth Maul lead, like I said. So overall, first impressions, you're doing great. You're number 1 in the arena, and you're number 17 in ships, and you've got a 6-star Darth Nihilus, so you're doing well for yourself. What I'm going to do, this is a little bit different than any of the other reviews that I've ever done, is I'm not just going to go through and talk about every single setup, because what I noticed is when I went into your inventory, basically you went all in on a certain team, which is your Sith team, and then pretty much everybody else you're kind of half in. You're half in, half out. And the Rebels, you're the closest to being all in, but this is what I'm going to say. So I'm going to give you a farming order, so that way you have a farming order for who you should focus on first. And let's go ahead and start with this farming order. So we're going to go ahead and go Scoundrel. The very first team you need to go all in and max out. Uh, so you can get the max level of credit heist is going to be your scoundrels. So that's Boba Fett max out. I would continue Lando, and I would continue Stormtrooper Han, and I would continue IG-88. Those 4 I would max out in their entirety. They're 4 phenomenal characters. They're usable in multiple facets of the game, and those 4 alone can run any of the scoundrel events all by themselves. And then you have some placeholders like Chewbacca, he could be there, or Cad Bane could sit in there in the stead, and they're going to survive long enough to get through any scoundrel event more than likely. So that's what I would do. Plus, your droid will be good for droids, Stormtrooper Han for your rebels, Lando for rebels. There's a lot of duality with these characters, and so that's why I would finish them. That's the first thing I would focus on, is getting them up. Now, if you're getting their highest level credit heist and you're just like, I'm never going to use these characters, then maybe you'll switch to the second priority, which is going to be rebels. And I would finish, and this is why. You should never start something and just kind of get it to halfway. You should always finish projects that you're starting. So with this, you have the top 5 is Princess Leia, Wedge, Biggs, Lando, and Stormtrooper Han. I use them. They're the highest already. Why don't you just run with them? You don't have to run with any other of these characters. So those 5 at a minimum, I would finish them off. You can always use Princess Leia with clones, and by the way, you may focus on clones in the future, so that would be really cool for Phase 4. And then Biggs and Wedge will always be viable. I would definitely get them up. Stormtrooper Han, viable. And Lando, while he seems less viable, he's still a phenomenal character, and he is viable. He's just got to be in the right team comps and going against the right teams. So I would focus on those top 5 and finish them. Get them done, get them going, so that way you have that. Now, if you're looking at those 5 and you go, I don't really like those 5 and I want to switch out and finish 5 rebels that I like, then you have a 5-star turret, and you have a 5-star baze. You could always focus on the turret baze combo, and those 2 are probably the singular best duo in the rebels comp, and you have 2 5-stars. So if you're wanting to switch out, then I would switch out turret and baze, and maybe not do Lando, and maybe not do Princess Leia, or maybe not do Lando and not do Stormtrooper Han, but focus on your rebels. So get your scoundrels up, get your rebels up, and then move to Empire next after you've done those 2. And Empire is important. Empire is a staple in this game. It always will be. It's one of the 4 pillars of the game. And so you'll want to make sure you do this. Now, you have your Shore Trooper, Darth Vader, Emperor Palpatine, and TIE Fighter. Top 4 Empire, hands down. No questions. So those, you've got Gear 11. That's phenomenal. You had a great focus on them over the last few months, but Grand Moff Tarkin Royal Guard leaves something to be desired. I'd probably finish both of them off, but at minimum, Grand Moff Tarkin, go all the way with him. He is the ship you're using, the capital ship in ships, so you really want to go all in on him to make sure that you're getting the most out of ships, because there's so many rewards possible. And then let's move to another pillar of the game, which is Jedi. And you after you're done with getting your scoundrels up, and after you're done with getting your rebels up, and then after you're done getting your Empire up, you're going to want to come over to Jedi and finish Jedi. Now, you may say, well, I don't want Jedi or don't use Jedi, but they're great in the game in many different arenas. There's also going to be in facets or arenas. They're also going to be usable in mod challenges, and you never know when the meta's going to shift and things like that. So, Qui-Gon Jinn, I would pick your top 5 and just focus on top 5. And so for me, if I was going to say top 5, I'd say Qui-Gon, Jedi Knight Anakin, Barriss, Ahsoka Tano, and the only other person I would add to that is actually Aayla Secura, who is completely untouched at the bottom. Now, I know you use Jedi Consular's ship, potentially from time to time, and so you've got him kind of half leveled up, and so I would suggest, if you were going to have a 6th that you really focus on, that you focus on Jedi Consular. I know a lot of people like, why not Yoda? I have Yoda and I have him maxed out, and honestly, I've used him. He's kind of fun. He's a little bit niche. He helps out with tenacity and foresight, but overall, the purpose of your Jedi team is not going to be probably arena. More than likely, your purpose of Jedi will be using them a couple times a week in the heroic AAT Phase 1. So you're looking at a Phase 1 team. So the Qui-Gon Jinn, Jedi Knight Anakin, Ahsoka, Barriss, and I would eventually Zeta her unique, so that way you get the durability from your Jedi throughout that. Plus she's a dispeller, so she'll help pull off those negative status effects. And then I would actually develop Ayla. That would be the one I'd focus on. But remember, get your Scoundrels finished, get your Rebels finished, get your Empire finished, and only do top 5 for these teams, so that way you have a singular 5 team. And then after Jedi, after you're done cleaning up all of these that you've gone on these tangents, you know, just gear 8, gear 9, all over the place. Get these 4 teams finished off in the direction I've told you, and then you're going to go all in on one team, and you can choose which team you'd like to go all in on. These are my suggestions. You don't have to take it, just take it with a grain of salt. But the first suggestion is going to be droids. Now you can choose to do droids, or you should go all in on clones. You need to choose one or the other, really. You don't need both. You need to decide whether you're going all in on clones or all in on droids. Now, pros and cons. You do spend a little money, so the pro is that you have the ability to gear people up a little faster, so you could focus on clones and it wouldn't be such a bad grind. Droids, though, are a much faster grind to get up to their max gear. So if you want droids for phase 2 in the heroic AAT, you could focus on droids. You already have a couple of Jawa, so let's look at your Jawa real quick, because I'm pretty sure, yeah, you've got Jawa Engineer 7 stars, and you've got Chief Nebit, so, and they're gear 8. And so you know, you could definitely go droids, and in that droid team I would just max it out and go all out. Now, the only reason why I make that suggestion of droids or clones is droids and clones are really traditionally used in phase 2, or clones could be used in phase 4. Clones have a little bit more purpose. They're a little bit more relevant in arena, and they've got a little bit more use in the raids. So my suggestion would be, instead of droids, focus on clones as your next main team. So clean up those 4 teams, your Scoundrels, Rebels, Empire, and Jedi, and then move here to the clones. Now this would be, I would say, the project I'd focus on in mid-April. So spend from now until mid-April, about a month, trying to clean all those other teams up, getting your top 5 and get them all to a minimum of gear 10 on all 4 of those other teams, and then move to clones. You can use them in phase 2, phase 4. You can use them with your Princess Leia that you will be gearing, hopefully. And they're great in arena. They've got some really fun abilities. You can use them in the heroic Rancor raid, and you know, even in arena, they're just really fun. So I would focus probably over the droids on this and make this your project team. Put them in your favorites and just sit there and you know, gear them all up. That is actually my project of the month for myself personally, is clones. I'm working on the clones, getting them all up. They're a really fun team and very versatile. So that is what I would suggest for all of your characters. As far as your overall experience of all your characters, you know, a lot of people like to know kind of what mistakes they're making. You know, other than the ones I've told you to work on, I wouldn't work on any more in this area. You know, IG Magna Guard, I wouldn't waste any more time on him. A Cad Bane, honestly, unless you love him, I wouldn't work on him anymore. I know you got Sith Trooper to gear 7. I would pause him. He's okay, but you've got much better Sith options at this point. Your Savage is near the bottom, and that's the only Sith I'd really focus on right now. And then you have a 7-star Han Solo, which is kind of interesting. You didn't gear him. He'd be a fun Scoundrel for the 5th slot in your Scoundrel team. And then, of course, at the bottom, you know, we see Ayla Secura, who really should be worked on. Baze and Chirrut, who really should be worked on. They're really important. And that's it. I wouldn't focus on any of these others at the bottom, except for you have a couple of clones that, if you decide at the end, after you clean up your Scoundrel, Rebel, Empire, and Jedi teams and get those top 5 finished, I would then move to either clones or droids. I would go clones if it was me. So let's go ahead and look at ships really quick and see where you're at with ships. You're at rank 17, and you're using an Empire lead. That's great. Empire is for extreme offense. It is really fast and offensive, and that is the idea of Grand Moff Tarkin's ship. Now you have both of the Empire. You have both Darth Vader's ship and the TIE fighter, so you've got both of the Empire ships in the game that can be used. There's really not a lot of synergy, but what you're going to want to do, and this is my opinion, is I would drop this Biggs ship to the bottom left. I would drop him out of your main lineup, and I would replace him with Darth Maul's ship. Now, the reason why I like Darth Maul is he is slow, but he is going to probably almost always get a turn before he dies, and he can use his special ability, put it on Sun Fac, who is very durable, and then Sun Fac's, going to be stunning anybody who has buffs on the other side. Ahsoka's there to remove the taunts on the other side, and you've got 2 turn lock specialists. Both TIE fighters do turn lock, target lock, on their basics, so that's pretty awesome. And then I would have Biggs and probably Wedge in the background on your backup lineup, or you could use Boba Fett as well in your back lineup. So when we go to your ships, you've got a really great selection of ships. I know you have a really amazing TIE Advanced and whatnot, but you already have 2 ships in your main lineup that do target lock, so I'm not 100% sure you'd want to use Darth Vader, but if you do, definitely have him in probably the 2nd slot of your backup. And then I would have Slave 1 probably in the 3rd slot of your backup. And the reason for that is, Slave 1 is a really heavy hitter. And if the TIE Advanced Darth Vader is coming out in the 2nd slot, he comes out, he's going to turn lock a ton of people and then die. And then Slave 1's going to come out. And his first ability, that 2nd ability he has right here, that's just his basic. This one right here, this is one you can use right away, right off the bat. As soon as he comes in, is proton torpedoes. He'll shoot, and everybody with target lock, including the target you're shooting at, even if they don't have target lock, will get hit. And it's for a lot of damage. It's 30 to 50,000, which is significant. So if you can, if there are no taunters, you can shoot the one person that doesn't have target lock, and then everybody else that has target lock. It's a great AoE to open up in, but it's a really nice ending to a game where you're kind of losing it. You got a lot of target lock spread by Darth Vader, but you're about to die. They kill your Darth Vader. You're bringing Boba Fett in. You're down to a couple of ships. He comes in. He does this proton torpedoes and just finishes off the other team. So that would be how I would do it. I would have a tank on the backup, a Biggs tank on the backup, probably Darth Vader, and then the Slave 1 as your 3 backups, and then the 2 TIE fighters, Sun Fac, the Scimitar, and your Ahsoka. And that's what I would probably use. If you're not going to use Jedi Consular, and I don't think you currently are, or Rex currently, I would just continue as you develop those 2 characters in the game to continue to develop those ships as well, just so that way you have some rotational ships. Rex is great for applying turn meter, and he's durable, and he helps give turn meter to other players, as well as buffing his team, as well as Jedi Consular calls assists and whatnot. So the rest of them you're developing. It looks pretty good. You got a pretty good lineup of ships, so I wouldn't worry too much about this. It looks like you're doing well, and like I said, I've given you a few suggestions. So what are your thoughts on the suggestions I've given Biggie? What do you think that he can improve upon, or what do you think that I've given as suggestions that maybe he should take the advice of? Leave your comments down below. As always, keep your gaming on. Warrior, out.